Welcome to an episode of One-on-One with Sam, brought to you by Fantasy Focused, which is sponsored by the Original Hooters. I'm Sam Holt, and I am super excited to have my wonderful guest, Melissa Jacobs of thefootballgirl.com, to join me today. Thank you, Melissa, for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me, Sam. Appreciate the intro.
Of course. Melissa, we had you on for our all-woman podcast that we did last month, and that was a crazy 5 hours of women in football, sitting and talking, not just... Oh my God, it was so much fun. And I loved that I got to have you on with Stefania too, just to hear you guys go back and forth about the Niners. It was so much fun.
Yeah, she's great. I hope, did you check out Project 11?
No, I recorded it, so I'm going to watch it later, but I am so excited for that piece on Alex Smith that she did. I mean, that kind of, you never see that, that full behind the scenes, everything that happened to him, and just, oh my God.
And I actually thought it was going to be a little bit more of the rehab, but it was actually deep into the hospital, days after happening. It was more she prepared me, but it was more gruesome and graphic than I think you could imagine.
Oh my gosh. That just makes me more excited. I mean, I'm an artist, so I love kind of different things. I'm an artist by trade. I'm a graphic designer. But for my personal stuff, for my drawings and things, I tend to draw lots of monsters and zombies and stuff. So nothing grosses me out. So I'm like,
oh, good. This is totally up your alley. You'll love it.
Well, bring it on. Yeah. Really quick, I just got an ESPN notification. I'm sure a lot of other people did too, that the Bears are not going to exercise their 5th-year option on Mitchell Trubisky. So that's per Untitled Chapter. That's kind of interesting.
I would say interesting, not surprising. So I'm married to a Bears fan, and we've had many conversations about Mitchell Trubisky. I've been forced to watch pretty much every Mitchell Trubisky game in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, they brought in Nick Foles for a reason, and you're saying that you're saying everything's on the table. I mean, assuming there is a training camp, that Bob's up on the table. It's going to be a competition and training camp. So, I mean, why would you extend Trubisky? Why would you give him a monster contract? What's the point? What does he prove to earn that?
Absolutely. So, I mean, and I love that you bring up training camp too. This is obviously going to be the weirdest year possible with football and with all sports, just how and what that first practice is even going to look like when practices do happen. When are they going to happen is the big question we're all asking.
Yeah, and it's really, I live in California, which has been one of the strictest states.
Yes.
And our governor here, Gavin Newsom, is I don't see any crowds of 100 until there's a vaccine anywhere. And that there's a lot of teams in California, right? So the NFL is doing sort of the antitrust, equality thing that everyone has to have the same situation. So while the Atlanta Falcons could probably go play a game tomorrow because of Georgia, looser regulations, or teams in Florida or whatever, I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm very, and I know I do know that they're going to put a lot of resources though into trying to make it happen.
Absolutely.
Testing, temperature checks, antibody tests, all that stuff. They'll prioritize probably, honestly, football of all the sports, and then kind of trickle down from there.
Yeah, it's been interesting too. I feel like the NBA, they were the first ones to officially close down of all the big sporting channels and all that that actually officially did their close down. So when I saw news coming out that they were going to start allowing people to go to facilities, and then that it was the Hawks that said, no, we're not going, so no one's allowed to go. That was an interesting kind of turn in the tables where we're like, okay, so it's going to happen. And then one team says, no, they're not comfortable. And obviously it's an all stop. So if they're the first ones that really want to get back, and we all want our basketball back, I mean, Last Dance has us feverish for basketball right now.
We need more than 10 episodes, though, apparently.
Yes, we need more. We need so much more. Well, we're also starved for sports. I mean, crying out loud. But obviously everyone needs to be safe before that happens. If the NBA keeps postponing things, this is also sculpting what the NFL season is going to look like.
Oh, completely. I know they're doing the virtual off season, but how can you, if all these other leagues are deeming it unsafe, the Olympics, which by the way, I think ends about 2 days before the Hall of Fame game is supposed to be played in the NFL, season kickoff, like they canceled they postponed the Olympics, a month ago or whatever. And the NFL it's just so interesting. Even Roger Goodell's interview with Trey Wingo during the draft, it's like full speed ahead. There's very little acknowledgement of the possibility of not playing. He wouldn't even really acknowledge the possibility of not playing with fans, which seems like 100% if we play games at all. So everyone's sort of in a different mindset, I think some people just view the NFL as like superhuman, like these are superheroes, and like the rules aren't going to apply to them eventually because it's the NFL and they can do what they want. But like,
sure, because so many other rules don't seem to apply to them for other things that we don't have to discuss. But like, I mean, if they're really immune to so much, why are we not going to get our football? So we'll try and be positive. We want to be positive. We want to talk about exciting things. Like we did just have the NFL draft, and obviously we have so many new rookies. I don't know how many leagues you're in for fantasy purposes, but I've unfortunately said yes to way too many new ones out of boredom. And I'm in a lot of rookie drafts. Aside from like the top guys, or if the top guys do have the best landing spots to you, was there a favorite landing spot that you saw a rookie go that you got particularly excited about?
I mean, I know that it's a generic, but the Clyde Edwards-Helaire like just seems. I love everything about. Well, first of all, for him, like imagine going to that LSU team to.
Yes.
I mean, it's like fairy dust to just sprinkled on this dude.
Absolutely.
And I love how invested the Chiefs are in him. I mean, that whole apparently Patrick Mahomes said that's the guy. They Andy Reid and like name one guy you want. And they need. I mean, that's a position that they need more production out of. Like there's a lot of motion. There's a lot like it's just such a. I mean, there's a lot of weaponry. So for fantasy purposes, it's not like I don't know. They would be like a top 10 backer, but it just seems like set up, particularly for a dynasty situation.
Yeah, and for success for them. I mean, I kind of laugh because, I mean, all season last year, like, you're kind of talking about the Williamses that were in their backfield, the multiple Williams players, and who had great success and for fantasy owners were a wonderful flex option. But none of them were that number one running back that you got wicked excited about. And it sounds like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is that guy.
Right. It sounds like they're like tons of plays are going to be designed for him. Like it's just going to be a different level of like integration into the offense than maybe the collection of running backs they've kind of just slummed with,
Yeah. They've made it work. They've made it work. They've made it work with so many other guys, but this guy.
They have Super Bowl rings, so,
Yeah. They did the things. They made it work and pulled off some pretty good victories.
And I don't think for fantasy, maybe it doesn't matter as much, although it's all related. Just playing for a guy like Andy Reid and obviously Patrick Mahomes, anyone wants to play with that dude, but the coach is so important. Like, so, having the culture and the obviously the experience that Andy Reid has and just his temperament and everything. And, those are my concerns about the Joe Burrow. Like, I love Joe Burrow. I think he's, he has good receivers from the start, assuming AJ Green plays.
I love that. Yeah, I love that you're laughing with that because I think we all kind of think he's not going to play this year.
When did you drop him last year?
AJ Green? I dropped him, I think, in like week 6 because my co-host on the Fantasy Debate, another show that we have, my co-host Derek, he has this conspiracy theory as to why he wasn't playing, and he got in my head about it, and he's like, he's never going to play this season. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll drop him. So in some redraft leagues, I dropped him just because it seemed like other people are performing, and I hate holding on to someone that's not giving me points.
You kind of want points when you're playing fantasy.
Yeah, a little bit sometimes.
A little bit, yeah.
Unless you're tanking.
I know. I held on to him too long in a couple leagues. It was really, but yeah. I mean, I'm just not totally sold on Zach Taylor. That was just to my point in terms of, the offense wasn't very inventive last year.
Yeah.
As Alex Smith said, this isn't too much of a spoiler, but Alex Smith said one of the problems with the being drafted number 1 is you go to a team that has lost a lot, and that is their being number 1 overall. So I love the talent. I love the, you can plug him in right now. He's the guy. Offense built around him. So I'd be comfortable with him, but I just wanted to give that contrast between
Lafleur. No, for sure, that makes sense. And I feel like I think we're all very excited about Joe Burrow and what he's going to look like in the NFL. I think this year is going to have to be tempered expectations again, just because he's not going to get that time with his offense, with his weapons, to really build that rapport and build those relationships, the timing. So I feel like a year 2 Burrow is going to be far more exciting than a year 1.
Right. And that's a really good point, Sam. Like he can't work out with his new receivers. And that's like a staple of quarterbacks, like from Russell Wilson to Aaron Rodgers to everybody. That's what they do. And it's all about the reps. It's all about the in-person reps. So that should definitely, in a lot of ways, like hamper, particularly like these skill positions, fantasy. Like I think a guy like Chase Young will be totally fine when he suits up, or maybe some of these offensive tackles. But
they'll be much.
I'm very concerned. I mean, the wide receiver class is so exciting, but I'm still concerned about everything you just mentioned, pretty much all of them.
Yeah, all of them. I think it's going to be, just waiting and seeing. I feel like normally it's around week 4 when we see them get their feet under them and, we actually see them kind of burst onto the scene a little bit. I feel like this year, if, the season starts when it would normally, we might not see them get that exciting until maybe week 7, week 8. Like it's going to be late in the season. So
it's like fantasy playoffs and redraft leagues, and
are you really going to want to risk it playing someone that's only just had a single good game when you don't have the sample size and all that? It's going to be a bit concerning. But back to receivers and, particular players I wanted to bring up, especially talking about the Niners. I know that you're a big Niners fan. And yes, getting your take on this to me is something I got to get. But how do you feel about Brandon Ayuk joining this system, the Shanahan system?
Well, that we need him, or the 49ers need him. I mean, the loss of, they traded Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, Deebo Samuel definitely took a step up, halfway through season, but there's not, Marquise Goodwin's gone. There's just not a lot of depth there. And, I was surprised when they didn't take a receiver with their first round pick. I mean, Javon Kinlaw obviously just replaces DeForest Buckner. We'll see, Defo, as they call him, crazy impact player. And you got to keep that line. That's was the heartbeat of the team. I think Kyle Shanahan is just salivating to have a receiver he can do crazy cool things with, and hasn't quite. Obviously, they have George Kittle, so that's he's basically in a lot of ways, their most dynamic receiver now.
One could say, yes.
And Coach Shanahan said that Brandon Ayuk was his top receiver in this whole draft, in this crazy receiver-rich draft. CeeDee Lamb and Henry Ruggs and all these guys. So I don't know if that's just blowing smoke or that's true. John Lynch, the GM, also said they had him right up there, I think maybe with CeeDee Lamb. So it's kind of one of these things when you have a really smart head coach like Kyle Shanahan, who is a play calling wizard. Sometimes he gets in his own way, as we saw in the Super Bowl, but mostly he's, everyone is in awe of his football smarts. You're just kind of okay, he says, Brandon Ayuk is his guy, and, he's ready to do cool.
That's got to be the guy. Yeah, I mean, I know that I haven't watched as much tape on these rookies as I would have liked to. I'm not going to, say that I have when I definitely haven't done my homework. But I do know that
the rest of the industry does.
I know. Everyone else is
just 5 people in the whole, in all of media that actually spend the time doing the tape stuff, and then everyone else we're just kind of faking it a little bit.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. So, but I do know that he is known for being a very polished route runner. So I think I'm just excited to see how he maneuvers in that system, and also how he plays off of Deebo Samuel. I think that there's a lot of times where you can argue, having this extra receiver is going to open up an offense, like Sanders going to New Orleans and opening up Michael Thomas. That's exciting. But then there's also just that dynamic of, well, am I worried that he's going to take away, catches and touchdowns and opportunity? But if the Niners really need that much depth at receiver, I mean, sounds like there's plenty to go around. Garoppolo had over 3,000 yards. He had 3,978 yards last season. That was one of the numbers that I managed to grab before we started this. But I mean, I know that he had a ton of yards, and I feel like that's 27 touchdowns. That's plenty to pass around. Kittle, though he's amazing at what he does, he can't catch everything.
Yeah. And I there's, they want to see a next step with Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. He's not this amazing, prolific passer. Obviously, plenty of players had better numbers than him. A couple of those, I feel like, were the Arizona games that he had like 500 yards or something. Yeah, sure. Games was like, I mean, that was the thing, right, about him, because they have such a dynamic running game, and Raheem Mostert came on the scene, and he had games, I think, with like 175 passing yards and no touchdowns, and because that Kyle Shanahan is sneaky, and he's not, he's changing, like, obviously all coaches are, but his is like next level in terms of adjustments in game. Unless it's the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh. But okay, so that's a great point, though, about Jimmy Garoppolo, and then just the way that Shanahan plays his offense. I mean, for 2020, when you're looking at like your quarterback rankings, and let's say you're in a 16-team league and it's a super flex, is Garoppolo someone that you're hoping could have a bump and be a good second QB for you in that type of format? Or is he someone that you're just avoiding because you know how prolific the run game is and you have that confidence behind them?
Yeah, I would probably avoid him just on Shanahan's history. Obviously, he was coordinator for Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan has a different kind of arm, a different, they had Julio Jones there until Brandon Ayuk comes in, and he's just this like stud, yards after catch guy like he was in college, and like see some shift, but I wouldn't bank on that now. And Garoppolo is, he has to take a step forward, but he's also mistake prone. Too. So, take that for what it's worth. But I think Kyle Shanahan likes to have an arsenal of running backs, and he doesn't care. Like, like Matt Breida is not there anymore, was supposed to be the guy, and perform. He just keeps like piling on. Tevin Coleman was like the stud for a while, and then Raheem Mostert, he likes that. He likes just rotating these guys and having so much depth at running back, and that really so far has been, with a few exceptions, the emphasis of this offense. So until that changes, I don't see Jimmy Garoppolo having like crazy value.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But with the running backs that you bring up too, I think a lot of people are concerned about that constant running back by committee. It's something that all fantasy owners kind of dread. You try and stack up these running backs and you hope for them to each perform equally, and no one takes away each other's touches. But for 2020, with Breida now gone, do you feel like Mostert owners are going to be really satisfied with the amount of touches that he gets? Do you feel like he's going to stay the number one, or has that potential?
I do think he has the potential. Richard Sherman, I remember, talked about this like leading up to the NFC Championship, and he was talking about Mostert and being like, he just works so well in Kyle's offense. He's a guy, like, he's talented. He might go to another team and like not be that much of a guy, but like here in San Francisco, he just happens to work. Just like the way, like his angles or like whatever little scientific metrics it is that Kyle Shanahan is looking for, Mostert fits. So while he is still in San Francisco, I would have faith in him. I don't know how that plays with other running backs. And, I don't think I knew much about Raheem Mostert a year ago at this time. So I don't know who's, there could be someone that emerges, practice squad, like who knows? And Kyle Shanahan loves that. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And I know that they signed an undrafted free agent, JaMychal Hasty, if I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about this guy, but who knows?
I know. I have no insight. I could fake it, but I don't.
No, but
faking it to that far.
Yes, but I mean, it goes to show that just with the type of system that he runs, maybe a very deep dynasty league, if we know that this is how he likes to treat his running backs, someone to just keep on your radar because you just never know.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And there, that's kind of what's fun about those deep sleeper type picks.
Yes.
San Francisco. If there is a person on the roster that says RB San Francisco, like whoever it is, like you might want to have them in a very deep league back pocket, or you could.
Yes. No, they don't seem to be changing their scheme anytime soon. So if you can find value anywhere in a running game, it's going to be San Francisco.
Yeah, right. I mean, the offense hasn't turned over that much. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like there would be much of a shift.
I did catch your episode last night with Stacey Dales. That was awesome, by the way. I love that you asked her about the Aaron Rodgers, situation, I guess you could call it even now.
She was so positive about Jordan Love.
Yeah, she was very positive. And, obviously Rodgers is a professional and he's going to deal with this the way that he does. But is that the biggest surprise for you out of this draft still?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I thought they were going corner or wide out. I think 99.9% of people did. Those are like their clear needs. I mean, Jordan Love is just going to be so interesting. That's like so boomer bust.
Mm-hmm.
And I question, I question the relationship between Matt Lafleur and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I've heard from Packers fans, people that, he's alienating Rodgers a little bit. I don't know if this isn't like actual reported stuff.
No, but you hear so many different things.
In the rumorville. And look, I mean, Aaron Rodgers didn't really get along with Mike McCarthy. Like, he's a really interesting dude, but, I think he has a slight propensity to alienate a little bit. But I don't know, like maybe Matt LaFleur is just like a huge jerk, or maybe like they're totally fine. Like,
yeah,
this is truly like we want a quarterback. That's the highest value position. And we love this guy. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be 40 before you know it.
I know. It hits you before you know it. But I mean, I guess, yes, that's definitely the biggest surprise from the draft. It's going to be interesting to see the way that plays out. Just quickly, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, I'm really just grateful to have you on. Obviously, admire your work very much. If you guys are not familiar with Melissa's work, please check out thefootballgirl.com. I mean, you've had quite an incredible career with so many different places. I mean, you've been with Sports Illustrated. I mean, you've been with ESPN, yes. And I mean, you've just been all over the place. I mean, someday it would be great to say I had the same.
Oh, I'm sure you will be there. That's a lot of traveling, a lot of Bristol, Connecticut one day. Then I'm in New York. No, I'm not. But it's fun. I mean, I don't know that much about other industries really at all. I mean, my husband's an attorney, but when you're an attorney, there's like certain meccas like DC and New York. Like when you're in media, especially, and this doesn't apply to me, but like if you're an on-air person, you're just traveling to these like podunk city, like that's what you have to do to start your career. Almost every on-air, like big name on-air person that you will, discover has done that. And then like producer rank, and you're just all over the map, and you don't, you just kind of like, if you're able to, you just kind of like let the journey pull you, and it's it's pretty fun adventure in media.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's so exciting.
We don't have sports anymore, but
yes. So I guess my last two questions. One would be, what new content do you have coming out? Like, obviously, we're all in quarantine and we're trying to just stay busy. Do you have anything new coming out that people can look forward to?
Well, we have actually, even though we're the football girl, Pat Fitzmaurice, who has been a well-respected ranker and fantasy analyst for years. He's going to have fresh rankings, fresh post-draft rankings. And he's one of these that is always like top 5, top 10 in accuracy. So that should be on the site next week.
Nice.
I've been keeping my podcast going, as you mentioned, Stacey Dales. We're going to have the VP of philanthropy. It's a hard word to say.
It is a hard word. I don't like that word.
I was like philanthropy.
Yes.
From the NFL on next week, and it's
awesome.
I mean, it's one of those like everyone. Is there going to be? I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll have a big Mitchell Trubisky expose. Like it's just kind of take the news as it comes. Trying to have a little more of like a COVID, bent to a lot of what, even though we want sports as an escape, it's the reality. And then I also, I'm a contributor to The Guardian. So I did regular column I do a regular column during the football season, and I've done a lot of non-football stuff. So I've like written recently a couple pieces about like how COVID's affected minor league baseball players, for example. So I have another piece coming out about youth sports, how what the entryway back into that is, which is very personal to me because both of my kids are like sporting. So
yes, that sounds awesome. I mean, it's crazy because obviously you're in your own bubble and everyone's trapped at home, and so a lot of us, like for me, I'm like, oh, I'm just doing this again and again, but I mean, I'm at home, I have a roommate and I have a cat. I don't have a lot going on in this house, but like roommate? I love my roommate. Thankfully I like my roommate.
I kind of hear those. That's like the piece I want to read, like the roommates who like didn't really know each other and then they're just stuck together.
No, thankfully, I think if anything, it's brought us closer together. So that's good because she has to be separated from her boyfriend. So like it's a very tough situation for her. He's up in Northern California and she's down here in Long Beach with me. So that's been tough, gotten us closer together. But at the same time, I think and feel so hard for these parents like yourself that have your kids home for so long. And I mean, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what managing. I mean, normally you have your kid, they go to school, then they come home, you do homework, and you have that routine. You have your routine in your system, and you're then prepared for your summer. But that's just completely been flipped upside down. So, I mean, you guys are the huge MVPs that people need to be, praising you guys for just managing and trying to keep these little guys entertained and happy.
Yeah, well, they're like my kids are going to be psychopaths now after the experience, but I appreciate the kind words.
Yes, no, of course. But I mean, also, they're going to be analysts. I saw that thing that you posted that your son wrote about the Niners, how their draft went.
Yeah, so because a lot of it, like I'm basically having to homeschool now. So he's in 3rd grade, and I think the assignment was like, this is opinion writing. You're going to give a speech about something you're really passionate about. What sings to you? And they gave examples. It was like, oh, what animals do you love? What job do you want to be when you grow up? And he's like, boring. I just care about. It was right after the NFL draft. And I was like, okay, do you have anything about the draft? He's like, Javon Kinlaw is awesome. I want to know. And he's like, my teacher is going to have no idea who that is, but I hear him on like his one, there's a 15-minute live session, and I just hear the teacher being like, so Cyrus, that's his name, my kid. She's like, who is this person you're going to be talking, Chief Vaughn? What? You're really going to have to teach me because I don't know.
That's amazing. I love that so much. I just, these kids' passions are amazing. And I mean, I also know that I had Cynthia Freeland on last week, and she said that she was doing Zoom classes for some teacher friends of hers to talk sports math to these kids, which I thought was really cool.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I just think there's a lot of ways that we can hopefully include sports to keep kids excited. And, I mean, it's just another opportunity to teach and mold the next generation.
Right. My kid, Cyrus, he learned math literally from watching football. Like he knew multiples of 7, I think, before he knew what 10 plus 2 was or whatever.
That's amazing.
I'm all about what Cynthia's doing. And I just think there should be as many programs like teaching kids sports, math through sports as possible.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. So where can everyone find you and subscribe to all of your media?
Yeah, like mainly the Football Girl. We're on Instagram at TFG _NFL. I need a snazzier Instagram name than that. But we have a pretty robust, engaged Facebook page. Remember Facebook, that thing?
Of course. Yes.
On. That's just the Football Girl. I think if you type that into Facebook, it's interesting because that audience is like almost entirely women. It's like the audiences are split through each channel. Like, I don't know if you have that, Sam, but
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. On Twitter, I'm very active on Twitter at the Football Girl there. And yeah, you can footballgirl.com. And again, sometimes at The Guardian.
Perfect. Thank you so much again for your time. And guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Football Girl podcast. Melissa's always posting amazing stuff there. Check out her stuff on The Guardian. Check out thefootballgirl.com. Again, there's going to be new rankings this week coming out. Exciting stuff. So it's going to be good. Thank you again for your time. And you know what? Praise to you for being a working mom, but that's also, teaching your kids. So I really appreciate all that you're doing in your industry and just being an amazing parent too. So appreciate that.
Thanks so much for having me, Sam. This was great.
Of course. I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Bye.